Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Denver, Colorado, it's time for Franchise Bible Coach Radio. Now, here are your hosts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Franchise Bible Coach Radio podcast with Rick and Rob. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Nick Zamucen, founder of BioOne Inc. and Best Option Restoration. And he's going to be sharing his insights on how to build positive staff strategies and the keys to servant leadership. And Nick is a good friend and just an amazing franchisor. Nick, you're one of what I call the superstars of the franchise world. Is that okay if I call you that?
Well, I mean, that's not a bad title to have, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, Nick's an amazing speaker and leader, and just a lot. I could have a lot of topics that Nick would be able to handle for sure. But he's created an amazing franchise model at BioOne and has brought together an amazing team and has built a culture around your business like I've seen very rarely in the franchise industry, and not only with your franchise owners, but with the staff, the experiences they have with local law enforcement and the different people in their communities. It's just been an amazing thing to watch your company and what you've done there. So we're thrilled to have you, and we're excited to see what kind of gold nuggets you can share with us today.
I'll give you what I got. I'll tell you that. Let's go.
Nice. Let's get into it. All right. Well, I'm going to introduce you to my co-host, Rob Ganley, and he's going to kick it off and get the questions started, and then we'll just kind of see what happens here. So, Rob?
All right. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. So as we go ahead and get started, Nick, one of my favorite questions for a guy like you is tell us a little bit about your background and how BioOne and Best Option Restoration, came to be.
Well, I mean, starting backwards, Best Option Restoration came from BioOne. We were tired of pushing work down the pipeline and giving it to the guy across the street over at BioOne. BioOne will, it's a crime and trauma scene cleaning franchise and a virus disinfection franchise. So all the bad things in life that we don't ever want to talk about, BioOne handles. When BioOne goes in and remediates a scene, they often leave baseboards that need to get put back and walls that need to be repaired and floors that need to be repaired. And rather than just keep pushing it off to other franchise companies that may or may not represent our brand well after we're done, because sometimes people don't realize it wasn't BioOne that didn't do that correctly. And on the putback, we decided to create a company called Best Option Restoration. And so now the two companies work tandem, kind of hand in hand. And they've been very good about not only passing work back and forth and working as a family, but like you guys talked about, the culture. It's important that everyone's on the same page. We all believe in helping first and doing the business second. And, it's all about finding the right people. It's never rushing. It's never rushing to get anything done, whether it's, you don't rush through a good marriage. You don't rush raising kids, and you sure as hell don't rush putting together a long-term business strategy. So if you think long-term, it works out well. So that's kind of the background of the two companies and where they came from. I can tell you, I guess I didn't say BioOne came from the church originally. A pastor of mine had said that a man had taken his life in the audience and he didn't see his wife this week and wanted to know if some of us would go see how she was doing. And this was 20 plus years ago, guys. Mm-hmm. And I said, I kind of raised my hand and said, yeah, we'll go. I mean, when the pastor looks straight at you and says that, you kind of have to go. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I was in my early 20s, just young and dumb, and got to the house. The lady was, the widow was sitting on the couch next to some other ladies that had beaten me there from church because, again, I was in my early 20s and I probably stopped off and got a sandwich. I don't remember what I did, but I wasn't the first one there.
Right.
And when I walked through the door with a buddy of mine, she pointed to the back door and said, they said I had to clean it myself. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And the back door was actually what I thought it was the back door, was actually her bedroom. So I grandly walked through the front room and said, no problem. I grabbed the door handle and opened it and looked inside for about 1.2 seconds and shut it real quick. And it's a vision that I still have in my head today, because that was the first time I had been exposed to a suicide. And I saw browns and pinks and yellows and all colors of the rainbow that you do never want anyone to see. It wasn't pretty. And long story short, I walked back to the couch, asked the ladies from the church, get her out of here. We'll take her to lunch. We'll stay back and do this. It'll only take us about an hour. Well, 5 hours later. Again, what I didn't know, it was so. Again, I didn't have a company back then. I was in my early 20s, just trying to figure out life and what to do. And again, the part of helping first and doing the business second and a strong company culture truly has to be adopted by the franchisees, that you truly do care and the business does come second, because it didn't start by a profit opportunity. It started by helping a lady in the church. So that's the story of BioOne.
Yeah, I love that story. And I remember when we first met, Nick, you were trying to get it into perspective for me of what your business was all about. And I remember you telling me the story of the woman that said, my daughter committed suicide in our house, and I need to get my house back to some level of normal.
Right.
And they have to live there, and that kind of gave me chills. And I think about that a lot with your business model, that, and you say you're the last responders, right?
Yeah. We tend to come in when everyone else is gone and do our best to put things back to normal. I mean, it's just not an everyday event that somebody goes through like this, thank God. But it's it's reality of life nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other thing that I want to talk about is this week our theme is staffing strategies and servant leadership. And I think you exemplify servant leadership in everything that you do. So when you're talking, let's kind of break those down a little bit. When we're talking about staffing strategies, I know that right now you guys are really busy, right? And hiring the right people and building your team and keeping them incentivized and keeping them on board and growing and leadership development, all that good stuff is part of that staffing strategy. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have implemented and how that works for you?
Sure. Staffing strategies for us is, it goes back to finding the people that buy into what you buy into. I mean, again, when we specifically, and I know you're not looking for specifics, but just with BioOne, it tends to be a company that goes after the majority law enforcement, fire departments, EMTs, because they're used to helping people on a daily basis. I mean, people joke all the time and say, cops became a cop to shoot people in the face. I don't believe that, because a lot of my buddies are cops and they assure me they didn't become a cop to do that. They truly do want to help their community and be a part of it. And, so when we go and staff, we look at these the true first responders. We look at the guys that are out in the field and want to make a difference. And they tend to fit really well in our systems. And I don't care if it's BioOne or BOR, because the thought of helping somebody out either in their greatest time of need, like BioOne does, or like BOR does in a really irritating position. No one died at BOR, but you're standing in an inch of water, and that's enough just to ruin your damn day.
Right.
And so to come in there and have empathy for the situation, to be able to hold somebody's hand and say, I'm going to take care of this, you have enough to deal with. It's very important, again, like I said, to find the people that are on the same mission that you are. And that's, for us, is always helping people first.
Yeah. And I'll point out for our listeners that BOR stands for Best Option Restoration. We tell them that in the beginning. So yeah, that's the other business. So awesome. And when you're thinking about servant leadership, for instance, and like I said, you exemplify servant leadership, and and I've witnessed that on many, many occasions with you and how you lead. How do you define servant leadership, and how is it different than some of the other leadership models out there that you might see in the franchise world?
Well, I mean, I think you put it best, Rick, with the upside down pyramid. I really do. In the franchise Bible, you talk a lot about it, and I buy into that model. I bought into that model before I even knew it was your model. It just always made sense. To me, it's part of walking your talk. It's never asking somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. It's making sure that, when people say, Harry S. Truman, when people say the buck stops with you, boy, it better, I don't think people will follow you if they think you're BSing them. You can do it for you can only do it for so long. I've seen within franchising, I see a lot of these CEOs, I say this often, and here's the best way. One of the ways I can say it is, everyone wants to be the boss until it comes time to write the check.
Right.
And I don't care if it's, actual physical money or it's getting down there and doing the work. Every franchisee that I have in either system knows that I'll get down and dirty with them in a heartbeat. I'll never ask them to do something I wouldn't do myself. And I walk my talk. If the answer is no, the answer is no, and it's no for a reason. If the answer is yes, which I usually try to make it yes, but it's important. One of the things that I've done over at Bohr and Best Option Restoration of Bohr, like you said, is a newer company. It's been around for a few years now. We have about 17 locations. And because it had slowed down, one of the things that I thought was the best thing to do for everybody was I kind of held a moratorium, if you will. I'm not collecting franchises or franchise fees or any kind of fees whatsoever. We're not even looking at it until the end of September. Mm-hmm. I don't need them to pay me a dime. What I need them to do is focus on their families, focus on making sure their bills are paid. And I think things like that. It's a little thing, to not collect but it's what I can do to help. I mean, the $4,000 to me versus putting it in their pocket. I mean, you don't want to starve your franchises in the most crucial times. And I wish more franchisors were doing this. I was on a call actually with a bunch of CEOs. It was, whether it was College Hunks and 1-800 Got Junk and us and Pure Clean, and a couple other guys I can't remember. They were smaller franchises, but we were talking about what are we going to do, or what was each of us going to do? And I said, well, I'm just holding off royalties, and there were crickets. They couldn't believe it. Wow. They're like, well, why would you do that? And I just simply said, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, why not? If you can help the franchisees out in the pocketbook where it matters the most, it seems like where they feel like we're always sticking it to them is always in the pocketbook. Then when things are down, let's make sure that they understand that we're there with them. We're there, and we want to nurture their business. We want them to thrive, get through this, because we don't need a bunch of locations shutting down because they can't make these fees that you've imposed. And again, I just, every one of those franchises, just crickets. No one was even offering support. They kept saying, well, the government has that PPP and this and that. And guys, the fastest thing we can do to make a difference is to stop collections of invoices. And here's what I'm doing. I'm tacking it on the back end. You have to clear out you got to clear out your account by December 31st, but I'm not collecting nor charging late fees during this pandemic time where things for almost every franchise and every person is slow. So, when it comes to servant leadership, again, I'll thrust, I'm the first one to put my foot on the ground and the last one to leave. So and that's just the only way I know how to be.
That's great. And servant, really the key with servant leadership, and I often say this, is that you put franchise owners first. You put them before yourself. When you make decisions, I talked about that in the article for this week. When you're making decisions, you got to think about the impact it has on the franchise community before yourself, and that's really, really critical. And we should mention too, how many franchises do you have now at BioOne?
Great question. Over 100. I don't know. 100 something. Yeah. I don't know.
That's Sandy's department, right?
Yeah, that's Sandy's.
Jason. But yeah, and then how about with Bohr? With Best Option?
Right now we're sitting at 17.
Awesome. That's awesome. And you're very selective. I know that that's also part of the process. In Franchise Bible, since you brought it up, and it doesn't take much to get me to talk about my book, but yeah, we talked about how to be selective and choose the right franchise owners, and you guys exemplify that as well, because a lot of times franchisors will sell to anyone that may be able to write a check, but you're very selective, and that also helps with that.
Well, I think that, and I think you'd agree that that's a fast way to bury a system.
It is
short-term thinking and going for the buck rather than building a solid. I mean, here's the thing: you can build a house and put the foundation and just have it all be, thin set. And the minute it starts building on it, it just crumbles because the foundation of the property is not as tight and solid as it needs to be. The franchises, for me, it's the first 30 franchises are the most important franchises. Now they're all important. I'm talking about for long-term success, though.
Early adopters, yep.
The early adopters, the first 30 are the ones that are going to make or break long-term your franchise model, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. We hear that a lot, don't we, Rob?
Yeah, we do. And everything you're saying, I think, rings so true for my philosophies and Rick's. And it's just great to hear you talk about this, but it's almost like everybody needs to adopt this now, right? In the moment we're in here in early 2020 or May of 2020. So with that being said, Nick, tell us a little bit about it. And I kind of like the answer. I know the answer you're going to give, and it's a bittersweet answer, like you had said earlier, but tell us a little bit about how this pandemic is affecting BioOne franchisees and Bohr franchisees.
It's polar opposite. The BioOne obviously being biorecovery and virus mitigation. I mean, BioOne franchises are having stellar years. I mean, we've had franchises that, and we almost had another one this month, but we've had franchises that are billing out over $1 million a month, and when you have margins in the high 60 percentiles. I mean, for BioOne, COVID-19 has changed the lives of franchises for BioOne. I don't know any of them that aren't just busier than they want to be. Bohr, on the other hand, because there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers at home right now, they're fixing their own pipes. Maybe they're doing it right. They're probably doing it wrong. I have a feeling when this ends, Bohr is going to get extremely busy with the things that were done wrong. Right. And while Bohr isn't starving, because again, pipes in the walls are breaking and sewage backups are happening, the claims are down about 40% because there are so many people at home willing to give it a college try and do it. Again, it will, I have no doubt, it will explode by the time these stay-at-home orders are completely lifted and people get back to normal, what might be our new normal, and we'll be extremely busy.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, and the thinking about your franchise owners, both in BioOne and Best Option Restoration. Do you have a favorite real-world customer story that one of your franchisees has experienced recently where they were kind of exemplifying servant leadership? I know you said earlier your slogan is kind of help first and business second. Right. And I know you guys practice that kind of every day, so it might be hard to pick one. But is there any that stick out that kind of exemplify what that servant attitude is like with your franchisees?
You know what? On the franchise, like you said, the franchise side, we're so used to having that mindset Because, I mean, I can tell you from day one, I mean, Rick, which you know, and Robbie, you too, we drill it into them in training class that this is not about money. The more you help, the more you're helped. That's all there is to it. And this is showing it. I think the more, a better story that has happened just a few weeks ago was actually about Sandy Eads, our vice president of operations for franchises. She jumped on a plane over Easter to go help a franchise who couldn't get anybody to work a COVID job. She went to California over Easter to help, to help our franchises out. Again, when I heard this and that she actually did it, she asked me, you know, do you think I should? And I said, look, it's Easter. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If franchise is just going to have to work over Easter and, you know, but the fact of, I mean, guys, it boiled all, I mean, helping first, you know, it boils all the way up to corporate. I mean, Sandy jumped on a plane last minute, went to California to help a franchise who was doing a massive COVID job that could not get enough people, not enough bodies, because it was a holiday weekend. People were just like, I'm not working. And she left her two kids over Easter. I mean, thank goodness their dad had them. So, I mean, Kurt was there to take care of the kids, but the fact that she missed a major holiday in a young kid's life to make sure that her franchisees that she looks after were supported from the corporate side. I don't know any better story than that. I mean, it's not just the franchises; it boils to corporate too. We truly walk our talk, and I think that shows a lot to because it was a younger franchise, it was a newer franchise that got this really big job, and they were panicked. And Sandy stepped up and said, "I'm gonna hold your hand all the way through this, and I'll be there in 6 hours." And sure enough, she was, and she spent the whole weekend there. So I really applaud Sandy and Jason and Michael and Steve for what they do. While I step away and grow another company, they truly take care of this company just like I would. So, having the right team around you, and not only on the franchise side, but when you're building your company on the corporate side, I mean, they gotta be able to walk their talk as well, and they did. So I was extremely proud of her.
That's a good point. And we've been talking recently in the past few weeks about building your team and the whole focus of leadership development. And I always say you can't fake it. You're either all in or you're not.
That's right.
And so for those of you that are franchisors that are kind of getting started, keep in mind that the people that you recruit and onboard as your executive team, they have to buy into your ethos, lock, stock, and barrel. Because when it comes down to things like this, I always say that you can tell the true character of a leader when you get on the battlefield with them and the bullets are flying. It's easy to talk about how you are a leader, but until you're under fire, it doesn't show. And I say that we're all under fire right now. And that was a great example that Sandy stepped up and on her own and got on an airplane, which isn't easy to do today. Right. And not the safest thing to do. And also to get out there and support a franchise with real world application there. That's great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. She's a rare breed.
Yeah, she is.
And knowing you, your team, and everything you just said about being patient, investing in the right people, and leading with a servant mindset is exactly that. That's what I would expect to hear, and that's knowing Sandy, that is Sandy. And that response is totally in line with that. And so what that brings to mind, Nick, is we're getting to the end of the show, and I'd like to offer this to you is the one golden nugget, the opportunity. Leaders like you, I love listening to you talk. So if you have one gold nugget to give to other CEOs, other leaders in franchising, what would it be today, given the situation we're all in right now?
It goes back to, in my opinion, it's investing in your people and walking your talk. I find a lot of people out there today are saying a lot of what they believe people want to hear instead of what they need to hear. And that is something with me, you'll find in my organizations is, as you both know, I'm pretty direct. You can't get much more direct than me. But when I say something, I mean it. And, I'm not going to BS you. And it's important to that your franchises know that if, even if the answer is no, I feel that they'll respect you if you're consistent. One person asked me, and it was silly. It was an interview, not too much different than this. And it was a couple of weeks back. Someone asked me one word that describes you. And I had to sit back and think, because there was a lot of things that came to mind. But I think the final thing that the golden nugget, if you will, that I would tell people, what describes me and that hopefully would describe them, is accountable. I am accountable in every sense of the word to my franchise company. And I think every CEO or every founder needs to have a sense of accountability to everyone around there, whether it's on payroll or franchisees or clients of franchisees. You got to stay accountable.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I do know that about you for sure. And I've seen you in action. I've seen you with your franchise owners face to face. And I can see that that's not only words, but actual action in your life. Well, and before we get off that subject and close the show, made me think that, there's franchisors and franchise owners that are part of this initiative. And, just if it's a first-time listener out there, just to kind of refresh your memory, we started this right at the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak. And it was just our way of giving back to the franchise industry that we love. We decided, how can we help the franchisors and the franchise operators and owners out there get through this hard time? And we figured it's going to be at least a 3-month kind of a deal. And so we picked a 90-day initiative. We're calling it the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge. And what we're doing is offering free weekly coaching videos and, of course, the podcast, along with an article on entrepreneur.com and a Facebook community where people can sign up and ask questions and share ideas and triumphs and struggles and things like that. And all you have to do is sign up at franchisebiblecoach.com. And it's a free, no strings attached program. And hopefully we'll help people get through this time. And we're already hearing stories of people getting involved, and we have hundreds of people that have responded. So with that in mind, Nick, what can you share anything with us that, if you're a new franchisor out there that maybe just getting started, or new franchise owners that just kind of have the rug taken out from under them, what would be just some advice that you would give somebody right now?
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everyone would do it. Don't compromise your strategy for acquisition and take the easy buck, because the easy buck now is a nightmare a year from now. And it's important, again, stay the course is kind of cliche, but I don't know what else to say besides remember when you got into this, the plan that you had, and stay where you need to stay. Find the good coaches around you. Like you said, you guys have built a universe of positivity and resources that people can go to. Don't shortcut yourself or the system by not staying true to why you began to franchise. It wasn't all about the money. I hope not. It takes a lot to make. I mean, it had to be about something bigger than that. If you're going to grow your business through other people, make sure you're investing in those other people and not just taking anybody, because that is the kiss of death. Excellent
advice there. Very good. Well, and the other thing too is that as you grow your franchise system, keep in mind that there have been amazing companies that have come out of a crisis like this. And think about how in the last few weeks, we've been talking about ways that businesses have been adapting and changing the way they do things. And just know that whenever there's something like this, there's usually quite a lot of opportunity on the other side. So be creative and be genuine, be transparent, and be accountable to your customers and your franchise owners and each other, and that will come through for you. So everybody, thank you very much to Nick Zamucen, who is our guest today from BioOne and Best Option Restoration, and my co-host Rob Ganley. And remember, this week the topic is the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge is week 6, staffing strategies and servant leadership. So watch the corresponding coaching session and read the article and join that Facebook group, and tell all your franchise friends to join the Facebook group and ask questions. And we'll have Nick back soon and at another one of our sessions. So I'm Rick Grossman signing off, and thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.